All right, Michael Schneider, my good buddy. Welcome to the podcast, and it was so pumped to have you today.
Yeah, man, I'm excited.
Me and Michael were just catching up. Just a little context. I worked with Michael probably 20 years ago when he was doing stuff with surface skis, which we'll talk about today, but it's been a long time since we've connected. So I was super pumped to catch up with him today. Today, we're just going to talk about kind of Michael's career. He's been a creative juggernaut, I think, in our industry for a long time. And he's had a lot of really cool opportunities and a lot of really cool experiences. So I wanted to just have Michael on today to talk to him about what he's seen in the creative world through his 20 years of being in the industry, starting companies, working for big companies, starting his own agency now, and doing a lot of things in between.
Yeah,
I
man.
think, Michael, welcome. Can you to start, just introduce yourself to everybody, tell them a little bit about yourself, whatever you want to divulge and share with
Yeah,
the
man.
world.
Yeah, man. I'm stoked to be here, Brandon. Like I had mentioned to you earlier, dude, I'm just happy to catch up with you. I've followed you closely over the years, and I've been your number one fan. I love the work, and with me, just I'm here in Utah. I'm splitting time right now in Utah and Arizona, chasing kids and working. And my background has been primarily the snow and the outdoor kind of lifestyle industries over the years. As Brandon mentioned, as you mentioned, my wife and I started Surface Skis in '04, and we built that brand up. And it was kind of that little cult following kind of super fan brand that was a little bit rebellious, and we were kind of some of the first guys and to be kind of bringing art into ski. And that's a bold that's a bold statement, but it's a true one that I can stand behind, that I'm proud of. Is our Surface was based around art, and we had some great artists and photographers working, so we built that brand up and selling skis in, gosh, I think 35 plus countries by the time we were done. It was really cool to see that happen. And then, since then, I've kind of bounced around, served as creative director for Sundance, and worked with Fjall Raven from Sweden and Black Diamond and other brands. A lot of great brands, great people along the way. But now, just been out doing our own thing for the last few years, and we started our own little group, and it's definitely family ran. It's my wife and I, as always. That's just how we roll. And then we've got an amazing talent pool of people that we work with. So, but yeah, that's kind of my I'm a dad. Obviously, this the most important thing. I'm a dad. I've got three super rad kids. They're getting older. I've got a 16-year-old. He's out in Arizona playing baseball, and then my oldest is living out in Nashville playing soccer and going to college in Nashville. And then my next is leaving in August, and she's going to Virginia to study and play soccer as well. So we're gonna have kids all over the place, but that just means we're empty nesters almost, so we can celebrate a little bit. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, that's a quick little rundown of me, though. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I know that's really cool. Like I mentioned, I originally met Michael when I had just moved back from New York after doing an internship and stuff, and was just getting into more action sports stuff. When I got back, when I was working with Michael, my goal was to be like the snowboard and ski guy, and it was awesome. It was like, I mean, that was the early days of Surface, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I remember going out with your team and your crew, and we were just shooting rails and whatever we could shoot.
Yeah, yeah. We made it work, man. I remember those days. And yeah, that was a blast. We had an amazing crew. I mean, like I said, never want to come across as arrogant, but we had some amazing, team kids that were just super progressive, but like really underground guys that were doing rad stuff in their own way. And, it was fun. It was really fun. It was
Yeah,
cool.
no.
Yeah, we
What
had fun.
was yeah, well, and I think we'll start there, Michael. I mean, what was the idea like? I mean, as you know, ski industry is it is a competitive industry, right? There's people that have been in it for a long time. And I think I remember when I started working with you thinking like, this guy's wild, man. No one just starts a ski company.
I wasn't very
But
smart.
it was, I mean, at that time, I mean, it seems like it's become easier as time have gone on. But back then, we're talking, 20 years ago, can you talk a little bit about kind of what your thought process was there and why you wanted to start it and how you did it?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, you're right. I mean, it's hindsight. Look what hindsight. You probably should have never done that. Like we joke. I mean, there's been articles that have been kind of floating around that was like, hey, I had $500 and an idea, and people are like, yeah, right. And I'm like, no, really, I had $100 and I went to a ski factory down by the house and they made a couple of pairs of skis for us. And I gave them my $500. And that was it. I mean, that was literally like, well, we're in now. Like we built 2 pairs of skis and they broke like a couple of weeks later. Anyway, what kind of led me to do that was as a kid, I was living in a van before van lifing was cool. And
Yeah.
we were driving the country. My dad would drive us everywhere. We would race. We were into BMX. We were BMX kids.
Okay.
And in the 80s when BMX was like alive and well and it
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
And back in those days, BMX and skate kids, like back in those days, it was normal to like everybody wanted to start their own thing. It was like, I'm making a sticker company, I'm making a t-shirt company, I mean, it was just like everyone. So anyway, I think that's kind of where it came from. I'm like, I can make skis because I'm a skier. And I think that I don't really like anything. There's no art, there's no cool kids, there's no music, there's no design. And I'm just going to like bring in all these rad people that I know and that feel the same way. And we're going to make skis and we're going to like stand for something, and it was like one of those things. And little did I know that, costs a lot of money to make a ski company, but we made it work, man. I mean, but I think that was kind of where it was rooted. My wife and I, when we first got married, it was like, I'm just dating myself right now. I apologize. But it was,
Yeah.
9/11 had happened
Yeah.
and I was working for my dad and his company went out of business. And
Oh,
so
what was he doing?
he did like trucking. It was like import
Oh, okay.
containers, like things like that. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I was working for him and it was it. Like, I think over 900 companies like his went out of business within a 90-day window during that time. So my wife and I, we just got married, no money, nothing. And so we literally were like, well, let's go do some fun stuff. So we literally drove around. Like we drove up the coast, we went up into Canada. We're hanging out for like a month or two. And then when we got back home, we're like, well, we got to do something. We have to make, we have to make a living, right? So we decided to open up like a little like skate shop, little skateboard shop, lifestyle shop kind of thing, and it was called Union. And we did that, and we were selling a lot of skate stuff and shoes and a lot of cool clothing brands that you couldn't get. But I was a skier, and
Yeah.
so I'm looking around and I'm like, man, there's just nothing fun. I'm just not really stoked on this stuff. So like, we should build some skis with this and that. So we just decided let's build some skis. And like I said, we built some at a local factory and just kept going. The next year, it was like, well, people actually wanted those, so we should actually make like 100 pairs.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it was like, then after that, it was like 1,000 pairs. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have a real thing. We have a loan at the bank. We have
Yeah.
people. We owe money to people. Like not
We
that
have to
we can.
pay
Like,
people.
yeah, like I haven't slept in like 6 months because of a line of credit at the bank or whatever, And so,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, that was the kind of the roots of Surface. It got real quick. One thing I'm really proud of with Surface is we never strayed from like what we were about, and I'm proud of that.
Mhm.
There was some, like you said, it was some tough times for sure, but there was like what Surface Skis, Armada,
Yeah.
Line,
Yeah.
and like maybe Forefront about the same time.
Mhm.
So it was pretty cool to be around during that.
Yeah, that was like the precipice of like the evolution of skis. I grew up snowboarding, but
Yeah.
it was interesting to see how like skiing had really evolved, and all of a sudden you could do stuff on skis that you traditionally would only have been able to do on a board or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
All of a sudden it was like cool. It wasn't, it was like there was like the whole freestyle ski movement, which was
Mhm.
like you guys
Mhm.
were at the precipice of really.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought it was fun. I mean, we and I feel like we kind of we injected a lot of at least we tried and we hoped we did, but we injected a lot of style into things too. Like all the Surface kids were always like, running like tight pants and like not skiing in outerwear and hitting rails with
yeah.
the snowboard guys. And it was kind of the beginnings of that. And we got a lot of labels. I mean, I was looking back now, it's funny to hear like, people were like, oh, the emo kids, the Surface kids, the
Yeah.
whatever, and but we held our ground, for sure. So it was
No,
sweet.
that's cool. And then I wanted to talk about like I think that's an awesome intro. I wanted to talk a little bit about with you, like we were saying, like back about this time, photos and video. I mean, you couldn't put videos on the internet at this time. You
Mhm.
couldn't. You had photos that would go to, and the only place you could put them on your website, and they'd. I mean, the goal was to get them printed in a magazine to get some
Oh yeah.
publicity, right? And then so talk a little bit about what you guys were doing on the marketing side. Because I did notice that I love that about you guys is you guys really did have like a cool artistic kind of creative approach to the designs of the skis, to the purpose and everything. It was very purposeful, and I liked that. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I was surrounded by really good people. You know, we had a longtime friend of mine, another BMX guy, Jay I course too. You probably know Jay, Brandon. Do you know Jay?
I know the name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's still in Salt Lake, and he and I are long time friends. But I brought him on board as soon as I could afford to pay him something, right? It was
yeah,
like, hey,
totally.
but Jay's a phenomenal creative and designer, and he did you know
Yeah,
he did our ski graphics and all kinds of design stuff. But in terms of content and marketing and things that we did back then, I mean, we went crazy. I mean, we did like all the old methods. We were wheat pasting around ski towns. We made
hmm
a zine on my dad's copy machine in his office, and we made these like zines that were all just like cutouts and glued and whatever.
yeah,
And then when we did get some photos from guys like you or like Adam Clark,
yeah,
because he was my guy, and Adam was a huge part of building Surface up.
yeah,
Yeah, it was like we took these photos, and like you said, we didn't really have anywhere to put them. We would make
yeah,
little postcards and like print them out on paper and hang them in places and things like that. And then hope we got one of our shots in Powder Magazine or something,
yeah,
which happened every now and again.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then kind of the evolution, kind of happened. I remember there were some platforms that popped up like Flickr. Remember Flickr?
yeah. Flickr
You
was
know,
like the OG.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. We had like a Flickr, and then we finally had the website up when things kind of evolved, and we had we had blogs. But I mean, we had amazing photography. I remember shooting photos with Adam all the time, and we would go back
yeah,
and like look through the loop and like look at all the slides and like
yeah,
looking at things. It was so rad, and I miss those times. I mean, I still have a light box and a loop and slides at my house. Like
yeah.
my family and I brought them out the other day, and we were looking like, oh my gosh, that was like so long ago, and
I know, and it's
it's
like
just cool.
I don't know, I miss those. Yeah, it's funny because like I remember like I tell kids now like when I went to school, we developed film and we made prints. You know what I mean? Like it was like you'd go in the dark room and you would develop your own film, and it was so
Yeah,
organic and so like but magical at the same time. Like
yeah. It
and
was so
now it's just sometimes feels so disposable to create a photo with your phone, and just like there's a million ways you can create a photo, you know what I
I
mean? But
know.
back then it was like you had to be pretty intentional with like what you were doing, what you were shooting, how you approached it,
Yeah,
which I think is a lost art, almost anymore, because it's just so easy to create now.
yeah.
But yeah,
It's
no,
true. That's true.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Photography was always like, I mean, honestly, it's ironic that you and I are talking about photo with you because you're the guy. But like, I mean, photography was Surface. Like I love photos. I love
Yeah.
shooting photos. I love that whole world, and we captured a lot of cool stuff. We would go drive around and go to Whistler and link up with Anthony Boranowski back in the day, and like bring like 10 rolls of film and like two Super 8 cameras, and we made like a film, and
Yeah.
we did all kinds of stuff like that. That was really
Yeah,
really
I mean, on the video side, it was only film back then, and then
yeah. I mean,
and you
there's even
didn't
one.
have. Yeah.
There was one that lives. There's still one that lives on YouTube that we did with Blake Nine, and it was like full Super 8, and it's on YouTube.
Oh,
And
no way.
I watch it every like couple of years, and I shed a tear. I'm like, man, that was just so much fun because we were
Oh.
cruising around with like these big backpacks with like 5 or 6 Super 8 cameras that we bought, from like the like thrift stores or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
and then trying to figure out how to develop and process everything in the end, and we figured all that out. But that was awesome, man. And now it's funny because
yeah.
like now my kids are like shooting disposables and film cameras and things like that. So anyway, it's full circle.
No, it's cool. Yeah, no, it is. It's cool though, but I think it set the trajectory for like it really built it seems to me like it kind of built the foundation for the rest of your career. You know what I mean? Because you were you were running a ski company, but the creative side of that, I think, was the big driver for that success, right? Like
Mhm.
you guys had great skis, I know, but so much of that industry is just branding properly and creating a lifestyle and an imagery of that people want to belong to, and you guys did a great job of that.
Yeah, and that was, that's, looking back, it's one of those, if I would have known then what I know now about brand building and things,
Yeah.
who knows what would have happened, but it didn't, and it was awesome, and
Yeah.
but it was
I
over
mean,
a decade of learning, and like we learned how to, we learned global trade from like, from the house kind of thing. But yeah, the creative was what drove us anyway. Looking back now, it was kind of like, is this a tech story or is this a brand story? And we didn't even
yeah.
know the meaning of those things back then. It was just like, it's a
No.
whatever we want to do story. Like, let's go
Yeah.
hang out with Brandon Flint and shoot some photos at rail
Yeah.
gardens and
Yeah, that's exactly what
whatever.
it was.
We did whatever we wanted to do, and it just kind of worked out, and it was interesting because, speaking of JI course, we have a catalog.
Yeah.
We have a catalog that we have from years back. We make a catalog every year, and there was always an intro that one of us wrote, and he wrote
Yeah.
one year, and it was so funny because he made a comment about, like, why all the big brands are sitting around their boardroom table hate swiping, like what Surface is doing, and I was laughing because I'm like, we don't know what we're doing. There's no strategy. We would wake up in the morning and say, like, do we work? Do we go shoot photos? Do we go ski? Do we, like,
Yeah, what
what do
do
we
we do?
do? The answer was always the same thing. It was just like, let's just make something cool happen today, whatever it is. And that kind of holds true. Like, that's kind of my mantra to this day. Whether it's not the brightest mantra, but we always, I'm like, hey, just make cool stuff happen. Let's get it going.
Well, I think that's like, I mean, I think, that mantra is still super effective because even nowadays, it's probably gotten more complicated with what you could create and what you could be doing and how you could do it, the strategy, branding, all of that creation. But in the end, that's what I mean. It's a conversation we have with my clients now. It's like, we just got to create. You just got to
Yeah.
do. You can get bogged down in trying to figure out what to do and what's the right strategy. And in the end, you want to be strategic in everything that you do. And I think that has definitely evolved over the years. But most importantly is just to get out
Yeah.
and do something. You know what I mean? Like, and so, but yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a good ride. I mean, we had, over 10 years, and the brand is still going. It's still running,
Yeah, I
and
was gonna ask, what did you end up just selling it to? Yeah, what
yeah,
happened? Yeah, how
yeah,
was
yeah.
your exit out of that, and how did that
Yeah, I
pan out?
exited. Yeah, exited to, we had a crazy run, man. It was like, I went back and forth with a big sporting goods company that owns the big ski brands. I
Yeah.
was back and forth for nearly a year doing all the due diligence stuff, traveling to Europe, negotiating back and forth, setting up business models. We were going to sell the business to them,
Mhm.
and in the last minute, the deal kind of fell through, and they ended up buying Armada skis. So
Uh,
yeah,
Instead of
which is
you guys.
yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, they were kind of courting both of us at the same time or something, along those lines. But that didn't work out. And then, at that time in my life, I was really like, I'm ready to do other things. And
Yeah, that's what I was
so,
gonna ask.
I had a business partner at the time, and he kind of, we came up with a way for me to exit. And
Okay.
yeah, but it's still going. The guys are doing it. Jason Aarons was an athlete of ours back in the day, really cool kid from Tahoe.
Yeah.
He's kind of running the brand. I love Jason; he's the best. But
Cool.
it's a lot different than we had it. It's very,
Yeah.
like, very very park, like everything's park and urban, which is
Yeah.
super rad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still
Great.
going. It's cool to watch it.
Yeah, that's cool. So
Yeah,
you didn't end up your partner just bought you out then, and you just exited from
yeah.
there.
Just
Cool.
exited. Time to do something different. And yeah, yeah,
So that takes you basically. So how did you end up? So the next, and correct me if I'm wrong. The next thing that I know of is you went to Sundance Ski
yeah.
Resort.
Yeah, I was super excited about that. It was a really cool chapter in my life. We were, like I said, just looking for kind of a full departure, like, didn't want to do product and things like that.
Yeah.
So had a really cool opportunity to serve as the director of marketing, and then eventually the creative director for Sundance, and got to work with, their team, the Redford family, and made a lot of really cool things happen at the resort, during my time there as well. So that's a really special place for sure. We
Yeah.
developed kinds of, we had a blast over there too. So was at Sundance for probably maybe 4 or 5 years, I think.
Yeah. So
So yeah.
one of the questions that I had for you, like in terms of that, was like, so you go from basically running your own company, your own thing, and then going in house,
Mhm.
and working for another brand, and Sundance is it's well known, it's well established. But I know that I think you did a bunch of rebranding with them. You did, yeah. So it sounds like they gave you a lot of kind of creative freedom once you
Yeah.
got in there to kind of go in there and kind of do your thing.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? And again, like, what were the things that you saw working there at this point with like
Mhm.
your creative approach?
Yeah, so I was super fortunate, when I came on board there, it was at a really cool time. They were looking at rebranding. We launched, full new content strategies. I mean, they've always done marketing, but
Mhm.
kind of. It was
Yeah,
really no disrespect to Sundance. It was in a different era, but you know,
yeah,
they weren't really creating like, kind of an updated storytelling plan, and nothing was really
yeah,
going out. It was just, a billboard on I-15
yeah.
and, things like that.
Kind of like one-off little things that were kind of disjointed and not really cohesive. And
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. So I jumped in and kind of developed a content strategy. We ramped up social. We started having more frequent video and photo shoots like on mountain, lifestyle, snow, food and beverage, lodging. We put together some really cool campaigns with kind of some kind of forward thinking publications like Kinfolk. Like
mhm,
we did a campaign with Kinfolk, and that
mhm,
took a little bit of arm twisting at
mhm.
Sundance because they were like, "How is this relevant?" But it was like, "Hey, just wait. Like, just wait.
Yeah,
Let's
just
do
gotta trust
this."
me and be patient.
Yeah, yeah. And so we put together a really fun campaign with them and Condé Nast. We were like ranked number one by Condé Nast. I mean, we did a lot of really really cool things there. And to go back to your question too, like, yeah, we did a rebrand, but everything that Sundance had done until that point was very thoughtful and very curated by the Redford family. There's a
Yeah,
certain look of the the decor and everything. You walk in the restaurants and the way that things are, and it was very well thought out by their family.
yeah,
And that's Sundance is, you walk in the Yellow Bar and you've got this vibe, and
mhm,
it's a really special place. Without a doubt, not wanting to take that away, but one of my major kind of objectives while I was there. And again, it took a little bit of push and pull, but I always had something in the back of my mind that was like, there's a whole generation coming up that doesn't know who Robert Redford is. It's just
mhm.
facts. It's
Yeah,
just,
totally.
no disrespect to
Yeah,
Bob. I mean, he's
no,
Robert Redford, like he's Robert Redford, but there's a whole
younger
generation.
generation didn't know who he
Yeah.
was or
Yeah.
his story or the uniqueness of that place,
Mhm.
right? It was losing its
Yeah.
identity in a sense, right?
Exactly. So that was one
Yeah,
thing that I had brought up, I would bring up in meetings with the team. And the first handful of times it was like, dude, like they would look at me like, you are really overstepping your boundaries, like
yeah,
I remember, just little things like that. I'm like, no, no, it's no disrespect
yeah,
because the icon of icons, I mean,
yeah,
Robert Redford. But like I said, there's people, newlyweds, 19, 20-year-olds kind of coming up, getting ready to travel. They're going to start investing in travel. They're going
yep,
to invest in season passes for their kids or a
yeah,
vacation or whatever. And we just need to start speaking to that generation. So that was one thing that I wanted to really do as well. And started to do that with some different media outlets, like the Kinfolk and things like that. So
no, that's
but
cool.
yeah, we made some really fun video. We made a lot of really, really fun photography. We started bringing people in. Like we kind of kicked off like some of the early influencer style adopter kind of stuff. Like
Yeah,
we would bring people in. I would start to invite people into the resort and have them stay. And then another really cool thing that we did is there was a small art studio there that was very like really cool, but still doing its own thing for the same, 20 years or something. So we went in and kind of gutted the art studio and renovated it completely and kind of changed just the direction of it a little bit. So we had like artist in resident kind of stuff.
yeah,
So we would invite artists in for like the week and they would stay on property. They would get to create and paint or whatever they did.
yeah,
And that just made for amazing stories. It was really cool to see like different artists coming in and
yeah,
just creating on site, and then
yeah,
guests, hotel or resort guests could come through and like watch somebody creating art, and it was
yeah,
really cool. So those are among just a few things that we did, but that was a really really cool learning opportunity for me because the food and beverage and hospitality and travel and leisure was all new to me. So
yeah, yeah.
it was really cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a really cool experience and a unique opportunity because like it's not very again, you don't get the opportunity to rebrand a whole ski resort or a whole, and it's not just the ski resort. I mean, you have hotels in there, you have restaurants, you have it's a whole ecosystem in there,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah, it
and
was a big deal, and I think more importantly than that, it's it's Robert Redford. I mean,
yeah,
it's his thing, and Sundance is just there's so much heritage there. So to kind of go and pull in a rebrand and is
yeah,
that was it was cool though. I mean, like I said, it was really neat to learn. We learned a lot,
yeah,
but it's cool to see all of those things that we worked on happening now and working, like the mountain to really see it now, it's really gratifying for me, like selfishly, although we had great help, but for me selfishly, I love to see that Sundance is now like this kind of cool hip spot for the younger generation. And that was what I was doing
yeah,
at the time, but a lot of people really didn't understand it at the time that were
yeah,
internal and that had been there for a long time.
yeah,
No disrespect, great people, but they were
yeah,
like, no,
no,
no, we don't want change. We don't want, we don't want that. But my mindset was we were thinking about the future of Sundance from a business standpoint. We got to have,
mhm,
we have to have resort guests, like
yeah,
this can't go away. So that was where my head was at. But it's really cool to see kind of like being that cool hip spot for the 20 and 30 somethings now coming up with
yeah.
families and going to music festivals up there and things like that. So
No, it's awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And then from there, I loved this when I didn't know this about you, but I saw that then you went to San Francisco and started shooting stills for the
Dude,
Giants, which was
that
like
um that was unbelievable.
I read that, I'm like, I'm pretty jealous. That's pretty sick.
It was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable, extremely lucky. It fell in my lap opportunity, and it stemmed from Sundance. I don't know if you want me to go into it or not, but
Yeah, no, yeah. How did you, that seems like a crazy leap
it was.
from Sundance to like San Fran, like straight on full on sports dude, like
Oh,
at
dude,
the,
it was so. Not a lot of people know this about me, but I'm a sucker for baseball. I love baseball.
okay.
I love baseball. I played some collegiate baseball too. No one knows that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But I love baseball, and it's a magical game. I'm a sucker for baseball. But anyway, I was at Sundance. I was doing my thing there, and while I was there, I met a ton of amazing people.
Yeah, I'm
People
sure.
that work there, homeowners in the area, this
Yeah.
and that. And I became friends with a family that owned a home. They're from San Diego, but they owned a home in Sundance. Kevin and Jackie Freiberg,
Okay.
and they're really cool. They're authors and husband wife combo. They're cool. They're a power couple. They're cool. But
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, he knew we became friends and we skied together a little bit and just became friends, and
Yeah.
he knew that I love baseball. He knew that I had a son that was my son Tosh was super little at the time, but he was starting to play like Little League and he was on he was on the Giants, his Little League team. So he loved
Huh.
the Giants. So anyway, I'm just hanging out one night and Kevin gives me a shout. He's like, hey, why don't you come up to the house for dinner? And
Uh-huh.
I have someone I want you to meet. And I was like, oh, that'll be great. So he's like, and bring Tosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, weird, but okay. So my wife and
Yeah.
I went up and, we went up and walked into the door and walked into their house and just thinking, oh, it was like a friend who we're going to meet. And the manager of the San Francisco Giants was hanging out
Oh
on the
my
couch.
god.
Bruce Bochy.
What a
And he's
rad
like, hey, this is my
opportunity.
longtime friend, Bruce Bochy. He's the manager of the San Francisco Giants. And I was like, well, yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
right, right. And so anyway, got to know him a little bit. And he came into town one or two more times because believe it or not, Bruce loves to go ski a little bit. He can't hardly walk. His body's just wrecked from baseball because he
Yeah.
played and
Yeah.
he's an older guy. But anyway, he would go ski a couple runs and then he would go hang out. But so Kevin made an insane comment to Bruce that was like, hey, Mike loves photography. You should have Mike shoot photos for the San Francisco Giants. And I'm looking at him like, dude, yeah, like, come on, man. Like, I suck. I have like a, whatever. And so Bruce was like, yeah, I don't really know how I'd make that happen, but when I get back to the Bay Area, I'll kind of poke around and see. And I was like, that was the end of that story. But
Yeah.
honestly, Monday morning rolls around, my phone rings, and I'm like, hello. And it was a lady, and she was like, hey, my name's Becky. I'm with the San Francisco Giants. And she was like, who are you? And I was like, Mike. And she's like,
Yeah.
well, it sounds like, can you be in Scottsdale for spring training on February 28th? And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, this is happening. Like, this is insane. So I go into the Sundance team. I go into Chad, and he's a
Yeah.
GM. And I go into Chad, and I'm like, hey, dude, like, I had the most insane opportunity do you care if I like take a leave of absence for like a month or two?
Yeah, yeah,
And he kind of looked at me and he's like, hey, go get it. Like, that's pretty cool. So
yeah,
I did. And that just kind of steamrolled. And it was so, just to be clear, fully transparent, I didn't shoot any home games or anything like that.
yeah, yeah.
I did spring training. I was like a spring training,
Yeah, yeah.
um, photographer.
No,
But
that's
it was
awesome.
amazing. I learned a lot. I got to know all the big league guys and like
Yeah,
shot a bunch of amazing photos and,
that's
you know,
so fun.
rented like really expensive lenses,
Yeah, yeah,
I
totally.
did the whole
A
thing.
good 400 or 600, 800
Yeah,
lenses.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would go to Picture Line downtown and like,
yeah.
I would rent a lens for a month and I would take a huge loss. I would come home and be like, my wife's like, we just lost so much money with you doing that. I'm like, I don't even care. Like that was amazing. So yeah, that's how that happened.
Oh, what a cool
It
opportunity.
was
That's
cool
so
though.
rad.
It was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
That actually, that led to, everything, everything leads to something. I'm a firm believer in that. I mean,
yeah,
surface skis has opened up so many doors for me, but I mean, that opportunity led to, helping develop the Major League Baseball program for Stan Sox. And it was like, I got involved in,
that's
I
what
got,
led you over to Stance.
yeah,
I also saw that you did some stuff in with Coros, which I actually shot for Coros when they first launched with
yeah,
one of their athletes, Sally McRae, which was really
yep.
fun. We went over to France and shot
Hmm.
the new. It was right when they were coming out. I can't remember. I think it was the Apex when they were
Yeah,
coming.
the
The
Apex.
original Apex, but we were over at UTMB,
Yep,
which
yep,
was such a sick event. I'm a big trail runner, so that was just
yeah.
like the creme de la creme of opportunities for me.
I was probably at Coros when you shot the UTMB with Sally. Like
Was
I was,
that? Oh,
I was there for a couple of years.
oh, that yeah, I know. It probably would have been. I think it was a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember because she's still with them. But yeah, they're a rad watch company. But yeah,
I love the product. The product is really cool, and I learned a lot from Lewis Wu. He's the CEO.
yeah, Lewis. That's who I worked with. I just worked directly with Lewis, and
Yeah.
it was like this was like when they had just started. I went. They were
Oh,
in Irvine. I was living in Irvine at the time, and they
yeah.
were around the corner. And Sally's like, "You got to meet this new watch company." I was like, "All
Yeah.
right." So
Yeah.
like went in there. There was like two dudes and a few watches hanging out, and then
Yeah.
and then they blew up like right out. It was like pretty amazing to see like they do.
I probably came on board right at that time, dude, because it was really interesting. I got a message on LinkedIn of all places
Yeah,
from Lewis. He was
really,
like, Lewis, a lot of people, I don't know if you knew this about Lewis, but not only is he ridiculously smart, he's a bright human being, very detailed. He's amazing,
very
but he's an
yeah.
amazing rock climber. He
Yeah,
climbs
I
in
know he's a
Yosemite.
big climber, and I
Yeah,
actually get to run into him on the trails every once in a while
yeah,
down there in
yeah.
Southern California. So it was
He's awesome.
he's a good dude,
He
very
is.
smart.
He is very smart. So anyhow, he had, I'm not quite sure how he found me on LinkedIn, but maybe, he's a fan of Black Diamond products, and I was at Black Diamond for a number of years helping with their snow category.
Yeah,
And he DM'd me and was like, hey, we're looking for this and this. And I was like, and honestly, at that point in time, I had no clue what Coros was. I had to ask a friend of mine, Brian Tolbert, who was a trail
uh,
runner.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I called Brian. I'm like, dude, what's Coros? And Brian was like, oh, it's super sick. Like the product is amazing. And so I called Lewis back, and he and I worked together. And my role there was like social media content, like that's why I probably just barely missed you, because I was
I think
doing
I must have just missed you because
yeah,
I think I shot that stuff in 2019 because it was before, or it might have been 2018 actually. I'd have to go back. I can't remember, but it was pretty early.
yeah,
And
yeah.
in fact, because it looks like I think you were there 2020. Is that about right?
Yeah,
You went
yeah, I
in
think
there, like
so.
it
Yeah.
must have been like right before. Yeah,
Mhm.
because it was just they were such a new company, and I
Yeah.
think Sally had just started on with them,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then but they only had like a handful of people. The only people that knew about them at that time were like hardcore
Yeah.
ultra runners. So that was the
Right.
only thing because their whole thing was just like their battery life on
Mhm.
on their watches were incredible.
Yeah, they really are. It's an amazing UX. I mean, I love Coros product. I love the app. I love the user experience. I mean, I'm a sucker for it. But yeah, I mean, Sally was like one of the OG athletes at Coros. She was probably, gosh, she might have been like number one. I don't know. But by the
Really?
time I left, we were like Killian, and I mean,
Yeah,
you
they
name it.
had all of a sudden they were getting killing. All of a sudden they were getting these top like like top. I mean, not that Sally's not top, but like
Yeah, yeah,
well
yeah,
known, you know, athletes,
mhm,
and now now they're like they're an established brand
yeah,
in the
yeah.
industry now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I'm driving through, a few weeks ago, I'm driving through, I don't even know where I was, but I'm driving through grabbing a cup of coffee at a drive through and I like go to pay for it and the kid's like, "Oh, nice Coros Apex." And I was like, I
Yeah.
kind of laughed because I was like, dude, nobody would have known that when I was there. It was like, it was super
No.
cool, you know?
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it was cool. We worked on some cool projects. I got to work on a film project, with Jim Morrison and the late Hillary Nelson.
Oh yeah.
It was
Which
really
film
cool.
was
Like
it?
it was a Telluride project.
Oh, cool.
And so got to work with those two on that and a bunch of other video and photo shoot
Well,
projects. Like
yeah, that
really
was
cool.
it was funny because like Sally, I shot a little like she was like one of the first films I like video projects I ever worked with. I
Yeah.
reached out to her on Instagram because my
Yeah.
wife like followed her on Instagram, and I just had to
Mhm.
hit her up. And just when I was in California, I was like, hey, I want to start doing more video work. Can I just could we do a film about you? Because I
Yeah.
love this her story of just like, you know, balancing being a mom and a pro athlete. And she was with Nike. She still is with Nike,
Yeah.
you know, but like it was this like interesting juxtaposition of being a mom. And she's just like such a amazing person,
Oh
anyways.
yeah. She
And
is
so
cool.
I reached out to her and we shot this like little short film called Yellow Runner. But that was the precipice of my
Cool.
like video. That was actually the precipice of launching Story Directive was actually that video because I did that, shot that with her, and I remember showing it to a couple of her friends. Well, she said she showed it to a couple of her friends and they started crying. And
No
I
way.
thought, never in my life as a photographer had I ever made anybody cry with like, you know, at least
Maybe
not to
because the
my
photo's
knowledge.
so bad or something. Like, oh, I'm sorry the photo was so bad.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. At least not unless if it was just like, you know, I just remember like that was like the precipice for me, like understanding the power of video that
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow, like, and just the power that I could do. And I was hooked at that point. And that really was the precipice of launching Story Directive. And if it was up to me now, I would just shoot athlete stories for the rest of my life until I was dead.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, there's so many cool stories and there's the emotional connection with a lot of athletes and their upbringing and their trials and things that they went through to get where they're at. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
cool stories in that space.
No, there's so many.
It's
It's
really
pretty
cool.
amazing. But yeah, I didn't actually know that you were ever at Coros either. So I was like,
Yeah.
dude, that's so funny how we
Yeah.
had crossed paths there inadvertently again. But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it was a matter, that was awesome. Again, similar to the Sundance kind of journey,
yeah,
stepping in at Coros, it was like a tech thing. It was,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
very
like,
different.
having to
Well,
learn the
yeah.
messaging and learn the language and things like that. So
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that's interesting about your career. You know, surface skis, obviously very product, but a different, you know, product oriented. Then you go to Sundance. That's a more of a lifestyle brand, like you're building there. You do your,
yeah,
and then your Coros is like at its core, it's a tech company. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
for
I mean,
sure.
really, that's the advantage. That was the singular advantage compared to the other options in that industry was just its
Absolutely,
technology
yeah,
and interface and abilities of that watch to actually perform under the extreme kind of like needs that those athletes needed. You know, so it was cool.
yeah. And Lewis made that clear. Like I said, he was very direct and very bright. And I learned a lot working under him. But yeah, absolutely, tech. I mean, that's a tech thing, and
Yeah,
it was really really cool. So, but yeah, yeah, a lot of fun there too, learning about that tech space and fitness and run. I mean, the run. I learned about run. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not a runner.
yeah,
My wife and I, we ride. I mean, we ride, gravel bikes like crazy. Like we're more into
yeah,
the bike stuff. And then in terms of mountain fitness, like we love ski touring and we love, gravel riding and things like that. And,
yeah,
but I learned about run and man, that's a pretty wild, wild space too. Run
yeah,
is crazy. So, really
yeah.
cool.
And it's becoming more and more. It seems like it
Yeah.
grows every year. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's interesting to see the evolution of run too, and it's like everything, it's like surface skis. I mean, who would have ever thought that, the ski industry would have just some random like 24-year-old kid like, launch a ski brand where all of his athletes were like wearing like jeans when they were skiing and like
Yeah.
weed pasting around ski towns and like just doing stupid stuff and painting skis or whatever. And now you go full circle with run and you're seeing these brands pop up like Satisfy and these things. And it's like, who would have ever thought that run, it's really cool to see like just a little, the edginess coming through and different mindsets. And I love it. I think it's great. Like, bring
Yeah.
it on.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So then and then let's see, I'll just move. Yeah, just kind of continuing on. It looks like and then you were back at Black Diamond,
Mhm.
or were you? It sounds like you were kind of always working with those guys in conjunction with some of the like the
Yeah.
Stance, the Coros, the Black Diamond stuff. That seemed like it was
Mhm.
all kind of around the same time, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of kind of doing my own thing, doing a lot of contract, kind of freelance work.
Yeah,
And Black Diamond at the time was definitely the anchor. I mean, I was probably putting most of my time into BD
yeah,
and getting involved in their snow program and helping out with all types of functions at BD, marketing and content and even selling and
yeah.
we managed the territory, was involved in product and involved in everything.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing I was going to talk about with you was just like, at this point, by the time I mean, and I'm sure it started at Sundance, but by the time you're at Coros and you're at Stance and, social media now is like really coming on hard. Video is probably driving a lot of your marketing efforts. Can you talk about that? Like what channel, like what was the strategy at this point with a lot of these brands? I mean, it's probably
Mhm.
a little bit different with each one, but overall it's probably somewhat similar in who you're,
Yeah. I
can
mean,
you talk a little bit about that? Kind of like what was your creative approach with these brands that are pretty well, getting well established. I mean, BD, they've been around for a long time. Stance
mhm.
has been around a little while now, but
Yeah.
they're still kind of new. But like, yeah, do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, for sure. I guess we can kind of talk. I mean, those three, I guess, just kind of stay there. Stance is definitely its own thing. Stance I was never involved. Well, I was involved in some baseball content creation, but
Uh,
they're very like, Stance is very like creative, and they're punks and poets, and they've got their things. They're an amazing group from the beginning. They were tied in and had the right people in place, so they knew what they were doing in terms of community and content and just causing a scene and getting out there. Believe it or not, Black Diamond. And I say this to this day, and it's no disrespect to BD because I mean honestly, that's like the heritage climbing brand. I
yeah,
mean, Chenard equipment in the day, and BD is BD, right?
yeah,
But it's really interesting because on any given day you could walk into, and this is frustrating at the same time. It's like it was cool, but it was also frustrating. But you could walk into the building on a Wednesday morning, and you would see someone and be like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Brandon? Like, where have you
yeah,
been?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we were in Pakistan putting up first ascents and blah blah blah."
yeah.
And like no social media, no photos, no blog, no
No,
anything.
nothing. Yeah,
And he's just there like engineering like climbing gear.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so Black Diamond is just like notorious for having amazing product engineers, but like terrible marketing for a long time.
yeah,
And it's different now. I mean, it's better now. There's a great team over there now. They've got really
yeah,
talented people. But when I kind of came in there, it was wild to me. I'm like, this isn't that hard. Like,
yeah,
we have so many 100 SKUs. We have 600 products,
yeah,
and you're telling me that we can't choose, 20 or 30 of them and build stories around each one? Like, what's so hard here?
yeah.
And I think that
Was
the
that like, but was there pushback on that, like concept
always,
of
always,
leveraging like that storytelling element to those products, tying those
yeah,
two things together?
totally, totally. And whether they want to admit it or not, I mean, BD was also a place where a lot of the longtime people that have been there, for 15, 20 plus years,
Yeah,
they want zero change. They want, they don't want any
yeah,
change, and I get it. I respect it. I think it's awesome. We used a word, we would call a lot of the people that worked at BD, we would call them humble crushers. And it was
yeah,
a term that we would use in meetings and everywhere. Like BD, this office is full of humble crushers. Like you never know, like, hey, that's where Dawn Patrol came from. I mean, that
yeah,
that is Black Diamond. And there's all these amazing people, but for a lot of years it was just like terrible at actually telling that story and like marketing the business.
yeah,
And believe it or not, on the contrary to what a lot of people think, it was damaging the business because it just really was, it wasn't growing. It was
Yeah.
just so anyway,
Yeah,
there
and
was a little
it had
window of
its
time.
own it had its own unique culture there, I guess, is maybe the
Yeah.
right way of kinda
Mhm.
summing that up, that you had to kinda disrupt a bit to get them to kinda
Yeah.
think
And
about
it's
things a little bit differently.
Yeah, and it was hard. I know that it wasn't. I mean, by all means, it was. I was just a small little piece of the moving that
Yeah,
big ship moving, but there was a lot of people in the building. There became more people in the building that came on board while I was there that were really stoked on like, hey, let's like let's do these things. So it slowly started to happen, and now it's rolling. I love to see like I'm seeing a lot of things that were in the works, years ago,
yeah,
just now coming too. And that's the way
yeah,
that
that's
those
cool.
types of brands work. I mean, when I first came on board there, it was like I would bring product design concepts to the table for skis.
Yeah,
And it was like, a lot of the product team would be like, oh, that's not who we are.
uh,
We're like,
thing.
we're ski touring only.
Yeah,
We're this is who we are. This is the persona. We're not that.
yeah.
And maybe we can talk about it in like 2027. I'm like, dude, I'm going to be dead in 2027. Like, because I was used to like, if I want to make a ski
Yeah,
that
you
is
just did it.
shaped weird, I'm going to
Yeah,
make one. Most of the time, we would take a lot of, it worked. We would anyway. But
yeah,
BD is
it was just
phenomenal. But I
different.
learned a lot there. But Black Diamond's amazing. I mean, that's an amazing brand with some serious, serious, just badass people that are there.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
amazing mountain athletes and amazing product too. So it
Yeah.
was really cool. Yeah.
No, it's cool. Well, I want to be mindful of time with you because I want to be. But then you go on, you do some stuff with Cardiff, and
Hmm.
then I don't know anything you want to say about Cardiff. Cardiff is another pretty amazing, but also newer brand, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm sure you had a lot of valuable experience with them, is what my thought was there. Just like you
Yeah,
probably,
good group. Yeah, it's a good group. Definitely some creative differences in terms of like product development there on the
mm,
ski. That was why I came on board in the beginning, and there was some creative differences there on the ski, which is fine. That's normal.
yeah,
But that was kind of my short tenure there was to start to help them kind of just establish a ski category, which is tough from a snowboard brand. I don't care what
yeah,
anybody says. I mean, everyone in the building is a snowboarder. The brand is rooted around Bjorn, and
yeah,
there's
yep,
nobody cooler than Bjorn. I mean,
no,
dude, like, that guy is an absolute machine, like on the snow
yeah,
and off the snow. I mean, he works harder than anybody I know at Cardiff. Like, just nobody outworks Bjorn. And so it was tough to bring ski into that space. And I
yeah,
love those guys. There's zero, like, we're still great friends. I love JMO. Like, talking to JMO today. Like, we're all
yeah.
friends. But
Everything good.
in terms of like navigating where the ski product was going for that brand, it was just like,
Yeah,
it just wasn't really, we weren't aligned, you
yeah.
know?
Which happens. I mean, it's a in the creative world, you're gonna have different visions, and sometimes they line up, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of the nature of the beast, I think.
Mhm.
Well, with the last little bit of time with you, Michael, I want to talk about your new endeavor, Transit Group. I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about that, kind of what you're doing now, and where your vision is with that, and where you're headed.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited about that. Essentially, to be honest with you, it's a culmination of everything that I've been doing for the last 20 years, but we finally bundled it up and put it into an actual business
Hmm.
and are semi-actively seeking new business. I've
Yeah,
never really done that. It's just been
yeah,
like go with it,
yeah,
you know. But yeah, so Transit Group is kind of there's two kind of divisions. The Transit Group, this is the vision. There's a sales division that's really cool. So like, I love sales. I love to
yeah.
sell a really cool product, and I enjoy that process. I'm a sucker for brick and mortar.
Hmm.
I don't want retail to go away. I love to
Yeah,
go into cool mountain and surf shops a lot, when I'm traveling or whatever.
yeah,
So there's a sales division where we're representing brands. We're representing brands, my wife and I in the Intermountain West, like Utah, Colorado, and then even Arizona, Jackson, Wyoming, things like that. So we're representing some brands and product there. We're representing a couple of French companies, Candide. Everybody probably knows Candide Thovax, pro skier, like
yeah,
the most mind-blowing skier of all time, in my
yeah.
opinion. But so we're representing Candide in the USA now. This just happened a couple of months ago. Like, was
Nice.
approached by those guys to help just be a point of contact in the US for that amazing brand. And that guy, he's unbelievable. And
Yeah,
then we're doing Forward, which is another French brand that's being ran by an old friend of mine, Tony. He was the founder of Faction Skis.
Yeah.
So, Tony, we're doing that, and then also getting involved in the outdoor side of things with Bushnell and
Cool.
Sims Fly Fishing.
Wow.
So we're representing those brands, but then the other division is like brand marketing, content, just kind of brand strategy stuff,
Hmm.
and working with a number of brands there, just kind of like doing all kinds of work, like Swiss Army marketing stuff, like we always
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
establishing strategy, storytelling, aligning with people, brands, ambassadors. We're copy, we're photo, video, we're just kind of everything.
Hmm.
We're doing that as well. So there's kind of two arms to it. It's really cool. So transit's kind of like just us in a nutshell, all
Yeah.
the things that we do. And we're, like my goal is to work with, I want people that need help from people like us, just to know like we're like, we're tight team, we're fast moving, we're very easy to work with.
Yeah.
I think that the word agency kind of has like a little black cloud over it right now,
Yeah. 100%. Yep. Yep.
and that's the one thing that I, wasn't, I had no interest in going out and like building a big team. It was like literally my wife and I, it's like transit is us, and we're like,
Yeah.
hey, let's do what we do,
Yeah.
and we represent really great brands, and then we help strategize and build brands and scale brands. So whether it's an agency, or if it's, you could just say it was
Oh,
Mike and Lisa. Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
we probably didn't even need to name it anything. It's just like, hey, it's Mike, let's
Yeah.
go for it. But yeah, it's really cool that we're having a lot of fun with it. So we're doing a mixed bag of things, and it's keeping us busy.
Oh, that's awesome. So it sounds like it's going well then, and
Yeah.
you've got well,
Yeah.
it's cool. I mean, you have a vast career of experience to bring to your clients, which is pretty incredible. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think just to kind of end things up, like where do you see like you're working with a lot of different brands now, you're working with a lot of different,
Mhm,
individual
mhm,
brands. Where is marketing going nowadays?
mhm.
I think like storytelling's not going away. Which channels are you seeing working? What are you seeing working and moving the needle for your clients, I guess is maybe the question.
It's really tough right now. Like, as you know, like buying web traffic is so tough and it's
Yeah.
expensive, and it's not going away though, right? We all know that's not going away. Content is just, you got, like you said earlier in the conversation, it's just like you just feed that beast constantly. But for us, obviously you've got all this, you got the channels, you've got social channels, you've got content, you've got, ambassadors and people flying your flag and doing those things. But some of the things that have been really working in terms of the outdoor lifestyle sports space that I've
Yeah.
seen working the last couple of years is more hands-on, like getting back to hands-on, like face-to-face community stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really enjoying, watching people doing pop-ups. I'm really
Yeah.
enjoying
Yeah.
people doing like, creative things like art shows, photo shoot, photo galleries via a brand, and aligning with people like yourself, and
Yeah.
just getting back to those types of things that's more meaningful, because I think that, man, it's just like white noise everywhere you go, whether it's YouTube or Instagram
Yeah.
or
I mean,
TikTok, whatever you want to say. It's just so much.
no, that's the conversation we have with clients a lot at Story Directive.
Mhm.
It's just like, there used to be like, the notion of you just create content. It doesn't matter. You just create it and
Mhm.
it'll work. And that doesn't
Yeah,
work anymore because now everybody's creating content. There's no
I know.
shortage of content. It's just
I know.
it's actually too much.
It
And so
is.
there is just so much noise out there that you really have to be so much more intentional with your messaging, with your branding, you just
Yeah.
have to be more strategic with about what you're doing, why
Mhm.
you're doing it,
Yep.
and there's no shortage of people that are going to take your money and promise you the world. You know what I mean? As far as like, getting you, whether it's web traffic, whether
Yeah.
it's social stuff, whether it's,
Mhm.
any other things that but you do just that's I think that's the hard part now is that we've kind of swung the pendulum so far from probably when we started our careers when we think about like when we were working at Surface there just wasn't a lot of photos and videos at that point there was no hardly any videos there
Yeah.
was and so but now it's everybody's inundated with stuff so how do you
It's so much. I mean, it's so much. It's like, I laugh, looking back on, going back to the surface stuff and photography, in a sense, like, I mean, I think it's really cool and really special. I mean, I can count on one hand, like literally, I can picture them in my mind, the photos that we took that
Mhm.
were meaningful to the brand at the time. I can count on one hand, and I can
Yeah,
name them off,
yeah,
and there was reasons that they were special. It was the way they were framed up. It was who was in them. It was where. It was
Yeah.
it was, I mean, they were framed up so strategically,
Yeah.
but yet not. It
Yep.
was very like, it was very loose, but yet strategic. You know,
Well, it was
we had,
intentional, I think is the right
yeah,
word, right?
yeah. And I feel like now it's like in every meeting that I'm on, as you know, it's just like, it's a little bit exhausting too, because everybody's like, oh yeah, we got to go and pump this channel and got to go pump content through TikTok and we
Yeah.
got to go do this. And I really like, I'm like, I yearn for like a little bit less is more and like, hey, make it count, you know, like don't try to be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
Who are you? Like, are you, what is it that what do you stand for? And then go and get that first, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's what's a little bit exhausting right now. And the cool thing too, I mean, I look at my kids, like, you know, my kids are high teenagers now, like, you know,
Yep.
16 and 19 and everything. And like, they don't care about the stuff that flow. I mean, it's, yeah, you don't want to say they don't care because they don't miss a beat. Kids don't
Yeah.
miss anything.
No.
They know everything about everything,
Mhm.
very transparent. They know about athletes and brands and products and stories and this and that. But it's almost like they do it in a way where they're almost unfazed by it.
Mhm.
You know, it's like they just, because they're so inundated, it's just like a constant flow of stuff to process. And I'm really enjoying watching that generation kind of like deflected a little bit. And I
Mhm.
know that goes against everything that I need them to do because that's what I do for a living is like,
Yeah.
hey, we need you to digest this and, you know, buy something or
Yeah.
get
Do
involved in
something, submit
whatever.
your information, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, hey, give us your email address and we'll capture that. Blah blah blah. It's always something, and it's kind of cool to watch the younger generation like deflect that stuff a little bit, you know.
Mhm.
And they're making their purchases more meaningful, and I love that. It's like, you know, consumerism is crazy too.
It is. That's a whole nother topic,
It's a whole other topic that we could go off on for hours, but
yeah.
you know, I love to see consumerism being looked at a little bit differently nowadays, like with a little bit of a just a more well-rounded, educated lens. I mean, people aren't just like, I'm gonna go buy something.
Mindless.
Who are you gonna buy it from and why? Like, are you
Yeah.
gonna go buy something from Brandon because
Yeah.
he's represents this and this and this, and I want to give
Yeah.
my money to people like that?
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. I mean, I've always been a sucker for that, and
No, totally.
but I love that kind of approach to creating content and like brand positioning too. Whether you're doing real estate stuff or food and beverage or skis or it doesn't matter, you
Mhm.
know, but just kind of having that approach has been kind of what drives me. You know, I just want to do meaningful work. I don't want to just say, hey, I
Yeah.
can help you do this and take your money and walk away. Like, we don't, I want to like actually, you know,
I mean, I
I
think
want to see
that's
it grow.
yeah, I mean, you wanna align yourself. I mean, and I'm sure you feel the same way that I do. I wanna align myself now as you've gotten older with brands that are exciting to you and are doing cool things and are, like, not just, like,
Mhm.
going after the lowest common denominator, but are actually, like, trying to move the needle and do
Yeah,
amazing things, you know? And so
100%.
and I
I
think
mean,
that just comes with being in the industry for a long time and seeing I feel the same way as you a lot of the times. It's like, man, things were so much simpler when I
mhm,
started my career. I would just take my portfolio around,
yeah,
throw it
holding
down
it.
in front of people, and they
Yeah,
would like it and they would hire me. And now it's
yeah,
like I can't even remember the last time I did a sit down portfolio review with anybody.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all just digital, like it's all
I know,
like
and you know what? And it's kind of sad because how cool would it be for Brandon Flint to walk into a brand or a business and have the big black portfolio,
I
and
know.
you get to actually like hang out and speak to
I
them and
know.
become friends and get to know what they're thinking. You
Yeah.
know,
It's
I
just
really enjoy that as well. Like, hey, like what, you know, I like to find out what makes people tick, and I think you nailed it on the head. The older I get, I mean, yeah, you know, unfortunately, you know, you've got to make a living, and it's tough to
yeah,
do.
totally.
But at the same time, I'm really trying hard to find people that to work with that I believe in and
Yeah.
that I like, you
Yeah,
know,
that you like.
that are caring people and genuine and stand for
Yeah.
something. You know, it's really hard to do, but they're out there. There's a lot of
It
really great
is.
people out there, man. And just finding them, you know, and then aligning and helping each other out. That's what I like.
No, I think that's a great way to end this chat. Like, I think that's just like I hope in my mind anyways that we're kind of that pendulum is swinging back to kind of like creating with a purpose and finding value in quality, not necessarily quantity. And I know that there's always going to be a fine line there because there is so many different ways in which we can market, where we can
Mm-hmm.
promote and get people interested in a brand or what we're doing or all that stuff. It
Yeah.
would be cool. I do think it's happening because yeah, it's like content fatigue, I think sometimes
Oh,
both on the brand side and on the viewer side and on the because it's just like, dude, this feels sometimes just completely unsustainable.
Yeah. I mean, where does this even go? I mean, that's like, I mean, that's why people are so, so excited about AI, to create
Yeah,
photo and video. But I mean, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not going to go down that path and talk about AI right now.
yeah,
But, I do have, I'm not like, I don't want to see that and it's happened. It's too late. But like,
yeah.
I don't, it makes me a little bit sad to know that that's where the majority of content is going to be coming from.
I
That
know.
just tells me that the cadence of new content is going to be unmanageable to process for anyone.
Yeah,
And what a crappy way to live life. Like, you have to create that much content to feed the beast and make everybody like it's, I would rather do 5 good stories a year and then,
yep,
yeah, sure, make them last.
yeah,
But
totally. There's ways to make those live for a long time. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And you
yeah,
can get a lot of
meaningful.
different assets out of them, and if
Mhm.
you're strategic in how you do those. But yeah, to your point, doing that instead of doing, oh, we're gonna do one a week. It's like, oh, dude, come on, dude.
I know. It's so I don't like that. And I think, not just me personally, but I think a lot of people are gravitating towards brands and creators that are taking that approach, to be honest with you. I mean, I know that there's always going to be people that are scrolling TikTok and like looking at the funny,
Yeah.
funny memes and whatever. And I'm guilty. I'll send some to my
Oh
family
yeah,
group chat, like,
totally.
oh, whatever. But like, I mean, that's the type of content that
That's that's what
I don't,
I call that disposable content. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? It's got, you're gonna look at it for 3 seconds and never look at it again. You know what I
exactly.
mean?
That's
Like,
disposable. And I
yeah,
mean, I find myself going back to, I find myself going back to certain video and content pieces from certain brands and creators that I love. I go back to it all the time for inspiration or to get
yeah,
some ideas or to get excited about going out and doing something myself
yeah,
or, whatever. I go back to these
yeah.
certain people and brands and stuff that I love. And I think if you can create something that has a little bit of sticking power and like that, you've done a good job,
No, I think so. I think there's something really special about something that's gonna be something that people wanna go back to and watch
Mhm.
again over and over again, that isn't disposable, that isn't just a quick fix almost of, visual stimulation or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
so
I mean, yeah, I've got a kind of a go-to list of things that I love to go check out and see what they're up to, like brands and people
yeah,
that I love to see what they're up to, and
yeah.
that's meaningful to me. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that really quickly, this is interesting. And then I'll shut up and you can
No,
go.
no, you're good, man. I wanna be I'm good to go. You just let me I just wanna be part
Going
of your
back,
time.
well, I know that earlier in the conversation we talked a little bit about the Sundance thing. We talked about
Yeah,
Robert Redford, and obviously he's a visionary in his world, right? He's an
yeah,
amazing visionary. But I remember being in every quarter, we would kind of have to report into him and kind of give him the plan.
yeah.
And I remember being in a room, in a meeting room with, maybe there was like 7 or 8 people in there, and we were talking about this kind of thing,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm,
and he was really funny and it really stuck with me because he goes, I'm predicting there's going to be a generation that's coming through that is
mhm,
unfazed and not interested in this stuff.
mhm.
And I was like, dude, I forget how old he was at the time, but this was however many years ago. But that hit me hard because it got me a little bit excited because I'm like, man, I hope so. Because,
I
like
know.
you said a couple of minutes ago, it's not sustainable to live your life that way. You
No.
know, it's not.
Well, and it's not there's that part, but there's also the financial side of it from a brand. Like, how much can
Yeah.
you allocate? And that's what I've seen in over my career is that, that same budget that we used to go out and do two big campaigns for every year now has been whittled down to these little segments. And you have a couple grand here and a few grand here. But it's all just getting diluted.
Yeah.
And instead of having something that we want to go back to and be proud of, it's just getting like, we just got to feed the beast. And it's like, dude,
Yeah.
this is completely, I don't know. Yeah, I don't, I hope that we're swinging back a little bit the other way and finding
Yeah.
a more harmonious balance between those two things of just
Yeah.
like, let's create something that we're proud of and that's beautiful and that has feeling and meaning instead of just the quote unquote, like kind of what I call disposable
Yeah.
content that we see so much of, you know what I mean?
Oh, I know. I know.
Because there's just this pressure to do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we've got to be
I
on
feel
all
it
the
every day.
channels and we've got to be on everywhere. And it's like, I don't know that you do.
Yeah. I'm slowly like I'm finding myself like naturally gravitating away from it on a personal level, but also on like a brand and client level too. Like I don't have a problem speaking up and saying, hey, like I don't think we need to go and like bounce around on TikTok. I just don't think that that's,
Is that where your audience really is? You know what I mean? Is that the kind of stuff that you really want to be putting out as a brand,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And for the
yeah.
right brand, maybe it is, but
Yeah,
like,
maybe
yeah,
it is. But maybe it is. But I mean, like that was one thing we used to do. You asked a question about Surface and how we marketed it back in the day without social
yeah,
and things like that. I mean, but we did everything we did. It's kind of like a double edged sword because earlier in the conversation, I was like, we were loose. We just woke up in the morning and like, hey, let's make cool stuff happen. But that was intentional.
yeah,
That was like, we made sure that we made something cool happen
yeah,
every
exactly.
single day,
Yeah,
and so it was like, but it was things that had touch points and it created emotional connection. Like, I mean, there was a long time there where people would be like, want to buy a pair of Surface skis and they would only want to buy them from Mike. It was
yeah.
like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't, I can't sell, I just can't. But anyway, I don't know. Like that
Yeah,
was an interesting thought that just popped into my mind too. Is just like intentional content. Like just because it's digital content doesn't mean we have to make it so frequent.
disposable. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be disposable. And I'm going to
I
steal that.
think that's
I'm,
I
I'm
think
stealing your word, man. Like that's a good one. So
yeah, no, you do. I mean, I think that's the way I viewed it is like, and I think I like the way you describe it as intentional as opposed to disposable. I think those two things are very different when you approach them from a creative standpoint. You know what
mhm,
I mean? So, and
absolutely.
one meaning that it will last longer and have and be something that your audience wants to go back and
Mhm.
see more often instead of just like yeah this like one off I don't know but
Yeah.
but yeah that's awesome man. Well, what a great chat, man. I think
Yeah.
we could chat for hours probably,
Oh, I
but
know. I
like
love it.
I just want to thank you, Mike, for your time. I think that was awesome. So it was really
Thank
great to chat with you and catch up and hear about your amazing career so far. So thank you.
Well, we're just, like I said, we're waking up in the morning and just trying to make something cool happen. I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.